Hey everyone, this is Jerry Bolda from Clare Controls. Welcome to another ClareTech Tuesday. A couple weeks ago, I introduced our new ClareVue Lighting products. There's switches, dimmers, receptacles, things like that. It's been a couple weeks now. I've been out in the field. I've been using some of these new Z-Wave products. So today I wanted to just go through and recap, go through some of the differences between the newer and the older ClareVue lighting. So up on the webpage here, I've got this pulled up. You can see we've got the ClareVue in-wall. There's a switch/dimmer. We'll get into the details about that in a couple minutes here. We've got the ClareVue in-wall dimmer, which is just a different look than the old one that we have. You can see that one down below. And we have the ClareVue in-wall switch. They look almost exactly the same. Obviously, one dims and the other one is just a toggle. And then down here on the right, we've got the ClareVue plug-in dimmer. Pretty neat thing about that. I'm going to get into some details about that here in a second as well. So I'm going to pull up this little document here that I wrote up. So new ClareVue lighting. I wrote, what's the big deal? What's the difference? Why use this and not the old stuff? I just want to talk about Z-Wave Plus compared to Z-Wave. The older lighting that we had out that we were selling, and we still have some of that lighting, that is not Z-Wave Plus. The difference between that is there's a different chip that they put into the Z-Wave Plus. It's called the 500 series chip. Compared to the old, you get 50% more wireless range with the new Z-Wave chip. You get faster processor, meaning you get quicker response times. It might not be actually when you press the dimmer or the switch itself, but if you're working with these things remotely, you might notice it might be a little bit quicker to respond. These are a little more energy efficient, not only just the dimmers, but actually the power consumption that they use. And they can repeat signal up to 150 feet, which is probably one of the most significant changes between the old and the new. A little bit more detail here, switches and dimmers. The dimmers, these are really nice. They're with dimmable LED, CFL, incandescent, and halogen bulbs. The add-on accessory, the difference between this add-on accessory that we have now with the newer lighting compared to the old, you do not have to make what we call a Z-Wave association. What does that mean? You still use the old red wire that connects, with the traditional lighting. If you've got a three-way or more, you're going to continue to use that. One thing that's nice about that is you don't have to pair the accessory anymore. The old way you had to pair the accessory dimmer or switch, and then you would have to make an association through the controller and have them work that way. If you didn't make that association, they just wouldn't work. So, if you're doing new construction, things like that, you can now put these in the old traditional way, and they're hardwired, so they'll work every time. Nice thing, the next line down here, the bulleted point says the add-on accessory works with both dimmers and switches. So what does that mean? You have one add-on which works with both. So if you have a switches or dimmers and you have a three-way or more, you can use the same switch does both. It's a switch/dimmer. All of these include the white and light almond color paddles inside the box, so you don't have to buy a separate switch or dimmer. And there's a neutral required. I do want to talk about that for a second. I've got here one of the newer lights, and I've got one of the older ones. You can see a big difference between the backs of these. The older one has what I call a pigtail. They've got the wires connected to the back. You have a neutral wire. You've got this one's for your line, which is your power, and then this one's got the ground. But what I want to show you, this is the old style. This is the new. You can use the screws on the sides, or you can use the ones that press into the back. The big difference, though, is typically if you're going to be swapping out wires or switches or dimmers, you're going to have wires that you can use to plug into at least the load, the line, and if you're using the traveler wire. But typically the neutrals, if you're swapping out switches, the neutral is going to be back behind the outlet twisted into a wire cap. So what you're going to need to do is create just a small, I call it the jumper, you can call it the pigtail, a small white wire, which you're going to go from the neutral up into that same wire cap. Just make sure that white, if there's more than one bunch of white neutrals capped off, make sure it's the one that's going into the same piece of Romex of the switch that you're using. Otherwise, you're going to pop the breaker every time. I can just tell you that from experience. So I just wanted to show you the backs of those because they are much different than the old style. So down to the plug-in dimmer. These things are great for repeating signal. Also, I want to mention that there's one controlled outlet and then there's a pass-through, which means it's always on. So with that, what I mean is the old one, you could plug it in, and that's when you're taking up the outlet, the bottom of the outlet, and you plug in your controlled, what if it's a lamp, an accessory, whatever you're using, and then you had nowhere else to plug in whatever maybe was plugged into it before. With the newer one, they're on the side, so one is controlled and one you can just plug in something that needs permanent power. So that's kind of neat as well. Also, they're easy to install. I can tell you guys, I've been doing a lot of these. I've done, there was a place we did almost 50 of these dimmers, switches, and accessories. I've run into very little problems. I did have one where I was way too far away. But as far as getting these to pair up with the Clare Controls controller, the processor, and the Z-Wave controller, these things have been working really, really well. So I've been pretty pleased with the way that these have been working. So I just wanted to recap all that new ClareVue lighting stuff. We do have these available again on our website. I will put a link at the end of the video here for the webpage and for the new lighting products. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on ClareTech Tuesday.